Today's Toy Spot, we are having a look at the NECA Toys Wes Craven's new nightmare, Freddy Krueger. Time collectors, you probably will recognize Freddy Krueger as a re-release. In some regards, this is Ultimate Freddy Krueger from Wes Craven's new nightmare. I have to ultimately admit that the new Nightmare was my least favorite Nightmare on Elm Street. Did not care for it, but I'm really super stoked that NECA went back and gave us a re-release. And not really even so much re-release, I'll show you what I'm talking about in a second, but essentially a re-release of a NECA Cult Classics New Nightmare Freddy that we got from before. Down below, not really showing us New Nightmare Freddy, but we get the New Nightmare Freddy down below here in the opposite corner. It says, this time staying awake won't save you. Spin around the back of the package. It includes fedora and interchangeable demon head. In this New Nightmare, Freddy's origin and appearance are reimagined. Freddy is revealed to be the embodiment of ancient evil who has been contained through the stories that were told about him. After the final Nightmare, Freddy is able to break free from his character's fictional existence and cross over to reality. Very cool. To check out more from the folks over at NECA Toys, make sure you head over to www.necaonline.com. Spot's going to take a break and get this opened up, and when we come back, we get a better look at Ultimate, we'll just call him Ultimate New Nightmare Freddy Krueger. There's more heading your way, guys. Don't go anywhere. Alright, so now that we've got Ultimate New Nightmare Freddy out of box, let's get a better look at the figure. Let me just clarify a point that I made at the beginning of this review. I mentioned that he is a re-release. He's not really at all a re-release, but he's re-release in the sense that NECA has given us this guy before. Let me show you what I mean. We'll put him to the side. To an avid collector of NECA toys, you probably might have gotten this guy in your travels. This is Wes Craven's New Nightmare Freddy from the Cult Classics Hall of Fame line. It is not re-released. I mean, obviously re-released from a character standpoint, but from a figure standpoint, it's brand new. The Cult Classics are older. A lot of times what you did get is a base, a diorama stand, and you've got yourself the primary figure. Now the primary figures generally 9 times out of 10 were pre-posed in some way. Freddy's legs are more of a bent stance, and while his arms come across, at least one arm is completely straight, the other arm is bent. It still came with this fedora. I mean, not a bad figure for certainly its time. One benefit, actually, for the Cult Classics, as I mentioned, they come with display stands. So you got yourself the pillar, this pillar area from the hellish world of Freddy Krueger. Some snakes and stuff like that in there. The other thing that came with the Cult Classics Hall of Fame is the script book itself, which is actually something that Ultimate New Nightmare Freddy does not come with. So really, if you wanted to display it, you could display it with the broken pillar and with the inclusion of the script, which again would not have been included with the figure. Then Cult Classics also released a Hall of Fame New Nightmare Freddy, which again essentially gave us the exact same body. Nothing really drastically different there. A different head sculpt, where he had a more closed mouth, and he also came with the demonic head, just like the one that's down there. I don't know what happened to the demonic head that I had, but ultimately I don't know where it's disappeared somewhere. So Spot has had many good memories with the New Nightmare, not from the movie standpoint, but from the figure standpoint, having collected the Cult Classics and the Cult Classics Hall of Fame versions. Let's move those to the side. And by the way, there's the pillar that came with the Cult Classics Hall of Fame Freddy. Put that to the side. Okay, so like really a lot of this is cool, and again, I might ultimately just display Freddy, the Ultimate Freddy, on that stand. Just kind of put the script in front of it, and that's going to be probably a good way I'm going to display the figure. But let's touch base on the things that came with this figure. We'll put all that stuff to the side. Accessories that came included with this Ultimate Freddy. You got yourself a fedora, which is not quite the same color of fedora. I mean, based on really the cult classics, it would have you believe it's more of a green color. But this fedora is almost more of an olive-colored brown as opposed to the straight-out brown that we got with regular Freddy's. It's a much more pliable as well fedora, and it sits very easily on his head. No issues whatsoever. Probably will likely display him also with the fedora because I picture more Freddy with that fedora rather than having it off in some instances with other Freddy releases. But if you also so wish to change it out, he does also come included with the demonic head, which makes only a very brief cameo, but still cool that they included it as well. A simple popping out of the peg, popping it into place, and you can have demonic Freddy. Not my preferred look, but I do appreciate that they would include that. Looking at his primary face, it's a good figure for a movie I don't like. I suppose it's hard to be non-biased towards it. I didn't even really like Freddy's look in the movie. I have to be completely honest with that. Things such as the striped sweater carried over, yes, but the colors were swapped. So instead of red and red being the top, green being the secondary, all the colors were swapped. Also, that same green and red carried over into the interior of his trench coat, which, yes, in this movie, Freddy has a trench coat. But I didn't even like the facial design of the appliances that they gave him. He came across a lot less burnt, and of course, being more now the embodiment of evil, Freddy had more just... He came across actually more so like something you would see from Hellraiser, with big noticeable panels of muscle, tendons, and tissue underneath his flesh. It's a look that I didn't personally like, but I get that they were trying to do something a little bit different. Now, speaking a little bit different, Freddy Krueger's also notable change in Wes Craven's New Nightmare was his brand new glove. And it wasn't even so much a glove as it was an extension of his hand. On the blades, the blade end of it, as opposed to wearing a glove, it was a skeletal frame that went over top of his fingers. And also something, too, that made its introduction in this movie was the thumb blade. Because most Freddy gloves always only had the 4 blades, Wes Craven's New Nightmare introduced the thumb blade as well. Which, sadly, cameoing back the cult classics, one of my Freddys, the thumb blade broke off, which is a bit of a shame. So, from a figure standpoint, NECA hit all the marks. The sculpt is beautiful, the paint is exquisite, and I like the inclusion of the new Freddy glove. It just is unfortunate, I just don't like the movie. Not one bit. In fact, I find it, Wes Craven's New Nightmare is a very boring, my own personal opinion, one of the more boring Nightmare on Elm Streets to try to sit through. I just don't like it. And I don't like her son. Oh, he's annoying. But taking myself out, because you can't simply just judge it by, well, I didn't like the movie, so I don't like the figure. No, that's not it at all. I love the figure. The figure looks great. I just don't like the movie. I just don't like what it's based from. Something also, too, he had a much tighter pant than the original Freddy as well, and also the inclusion of the knee-high army boots, which made him just automatically a bad guy, just a real bad BA, a BA. We'll just say BA. So, yeah, I really do like this figure. I think it turned out very good. Paint's very clean, and sculpt's one of NECA's finest for a Freddy release. It's just a shame I don't like the movie. For your posability options, Freddy Krueger has basically the same sort of posability that you've seen with other Freddy Kruegers. So he has the ball joint in the head, hinged shoulders, this whole vest. I say vest because the sleeves are separate. This whole vest section of the jacket could come off, but as you always hear on this channel, and I sound like a broken record when I say this, because the arms are part of the jacket too, you really won't want to take this off because his sleeves will still remain. Arms rotate all the way around. They hinge out as well. A bend at the elbow, rotation on the forearm. A little bit stiff, rotation on the forearm. And he has also a rotation on the hand. I'm just being very careful not to do anything with that thumb blade. When it comes to his upper torso, also on a ball joint legs, a hinge at the knee, a rotation on the lower leg, rotation at the boot area, a hinge right where the foot is, and I thought he actually had a hinge there, but it's actually not a hinge, it's just the way that the boot has been sculpted. A good, solid figure. And really, I have to admit, seeing this guy, because I didn't even know NECA was going to release this guy, it was one of the few NECA releases. I must have just been I must have been asleep in a cave somewhere when news hit that this guy was going to be released, because as soon as the guy came out, I was blown away that NECA would have approached a new Nightmare Freddy as opposed to like continuing on other Freddy Kruegers. We've got ourselves a new Nightmare Freddy, but we were also getting ourselves a Nightmare on Elm Street Part 3 Ultimate Freddy. So like this guy just came out of nowhere. Just came out of it. The equivalent of this would be as if NECA just out of nowhere gave us an Uber Jason from Jason X while still doing the other Jasons. It's that kind of just, wait, that came out of nowhere. But it's a good came out of nowhere. NECA really delivers a strong figure release here with the new Nightmare Freddy. Even though I don't like the movie, I think the figure is fantastic. Today's toy spot, we were having a look. They could have also really packaged this guy as like an Ultimate Freddy, but nonetheless. Today we were having a look though at the Wes Craven's New Nightmare crap movie, but good figure of Freddy Krueger. Reimagined and re-delivered, I might add, by NECA Toys. Stay tuned, guys. Spot's going to have more toy spots heading your way. As always, thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.